Hi, and thank you for listening to me. First of all, you can all relax because I'm not going to sing any of these songs in my agenda. But, yeah, it's a shame, no? But I think it's good for you that I'm not singing. First of all, why am I talking about it at all? So what's love got to do with it? Not only because it's a very lightweight topic in the late afternoon before we're closing, but also because it's underlining a few hard facts. And it's really nice that I can be part of the lessons learned panel because I will repeat a few facts we've already heard today and try to put it under the first amendment, which means love your users. If you love your users, you make everything right. So, what is the connection between love and app marketing? In fact, they have a lot to do with each other, and the reason why it is so is the term neuromarketing. And neuromarketing is a field of marketing where scientists try to find a connection between brain activities and marketing messages. So if you Google it and search for it, you will more or less come to one of the biggest studies in this field, which is called the Pepsi Challenge. And it's basically based on commercials in the 70s and 80s where people were asked to take the Pepsi Challenge. And it was basically a blind taste test where Pepsi usually won and not Coke. But if you told the people what they were actually drinking, they all said they preferred Coke. And this is how the brain works. Coke was associated with really positive brand images and marketing messages. So even if you have the better choice right in front of you, which was obviously Pepsi, I don't know, I prefer Coke, naturally. Three quarters of people will always decide differently. Another study, which was also made by neuromarketing specialists from Daimler Chrysler, they found out, which is also very funny, that if men are seeing a sports car, they activate the reward center in their brain, which is actually only really activated by drugs or alcohol. So this is how the brain works, more or less. If you want to know more about it, I advise you to buy the book called Biology. It's from Martin Lindström. And it's about the truth and lies of why we're buying. And there are already also 3 really nice fun facts about how the brain and marketing works together. You all know the warning labels on cigarette packs. And they are actually meant to repel you from buying the next cigarette pack. But your brain does something really different. It's the opposite. If you see a warning label as a smoker, you really want a cigarette. The second fun fact is that really strong brands, let's say Apple, or if you see the iPhone and you really like the iPhone, it's in your brain something like you see a religious symbol. So it's really like being in a religious sentiment. And the third one, if you're looking at a Mini Cooper, your brain thinks that you are facing a person's face, and you're seeing a person's face. So what I want to tell you is basically that we are more likely to build a relationship with a brand that activates our brain like we do in very emotional situations. So if you want to become a beloved brand, you have to get emotional. So to close the deal for your app, you have to first get attention. You have to clearly and simply explain the need and the purpose of your app. And, which is probably one of the biggest challenges, you have to build up an addictive user workflow. So, let's see how we can be where we want to be on number 1. The first is, if you're talking about relationships, a good relationship was built upon authentic, honest, individual, and transparent dialogue. So your best strategy in digital marketing is think that your users are your friends. This is the best thing you can do, because friends pick up the phone late at night, friends help you to solve a problem, friends help you moving, and first of all, they listen to you. And this is what you should do with your brand. Something like Marie said before, be more than an app. Be the person behind the app. And brands should act like friends, actually. Because friends do something really amazing. They make us feel special. And this is the purpose of what you should do with your users as well. So how can you be a beloved app or a friend of your users? Sadly, this can only be achieved if others say so, because we're usually not listening to brands that much. We're listening to people who are in our environment, who are worth for us, valuable for us, and people who have the same problems like we do. So we are more likely to listen to them. So you have to try to let people talk about your service, use your service, and talk about it. Now we have a few more slides on how to do it best. And this starts actually with your presentation in the App Store. I'm more in favor of the second opinion we heard today. I think that you should go the extra mile and you should be really shiny to rise. And this also belongs to the presentation you are doing about your app in the App Store. So you should really put effort in it. Get best design, have a really nice video with storytelling to explain the need and the purpose of your service. For information architects and developers, it's more likely to focus on a good user experience, and you should always think about a consistent way people are navigating through your app. Thank God, users are more likely to give positive feedback, which is really good for us. If they tend to leave negative feedback, you should always directly respond, also in the App Store. So find out what the problem of your users are, try to solve them, and if they're not really clear, try to find out what they really think, what's good and what's bad. Every feedback is valuable, and you should take all the feedback and make a better version of your app. Now it's the last part of my presentation, and this is about how we can make them say that they love us or they love you. And this is probably a little bit difficult. And I just want to give you a brief advice on timing and on writing. The worst moment to ask somebody for a review is probably when you're launching an app. Because actually you haven't even tried it out, you don't know much about the app, and you really want to use it, you don't want to review it. So don't ask your users at the beginning of the app to review it. Rather wait for a really nice moment when they achieved something, when they had a positive achievement, a positive moment, and when they're happy about it, or when they completed a task. So never put a question inside two consecutive actions in one workflow. Always wait till the process is over and the user has something done right to tell them what about a review about our app. So for game developers, it's more likely before you probably enter the next level or after you have achieved an high score. Sometimes a simple feedback button can perform better than the usual alert you're prompting. Sometimes you can create a really positive invitation to make a review that distributes emotion and doesn't always end up in the App Store like Emma does here. When you see, they're asking, are you happy or are you unhappy? And depending on what emotion you have during your use to the app, they ask you to share, to rate, to give feedback, or to contact the team if you really have a problem. So this is really this is really caring about your user, and this is what you always should have in mind. Yeah, and for the wording, you can also not always make a review invitation when you're inside the app, but also when you are sending out a new update, which is really good because when you're updating, you usually need new and good reviews. So always think about this positioning as well. Good. So for the wording, you can be really honest. You should tell your users what you want, but in a really nice way. So for me in my situation, as I want a review from you as well, I would say, if you like my presentation and the things I've said, then please let me win the chin. Thank you.